Well, guys, I'm officially done with WhatNot. And in today's video, I'm going to talk about why I believe WhatNot is not worth it for 95% of people. I'm also going to talk about my experience with WhatNot, how I got ready for my first show, and all the good things, which kind of turned out bad because I'm done with WhatNot and I'm kind of downtrodden and feeling very, very sad. So I had heard from so many different people on TikTok, on YouTube, and Facebook talking about their WhatNot experience and how they made really good money, how they loved doing it right. They were able to make money quicker, and they just loved everything about it. And so after hearing this for several months, I was like, you know what? I'm going to actually take WhatNot seriously. I made a WhatNot account about a year ago, and I'm not sure if there's still a vetting process, but when I signed up for WhatNot, in order to become a seller, you have to be on this group Zoom call. I can't remember what platform it is, but it's like a group video call meeting, and you have a presenter who goes through the basics of WhatNot, and basically they let everyone in to become a seller as long as you go through this orientation meeting. And I never had a show. I just loaded some things onto WhatNot, some listings, and I've done a little bit of cross-listing to WhatNot. But it wasn't until I watched and saw on so many different social media platforms WhatNot being successful for people that I wanted to do it. So in order to prepare for my first show, I watched a bunch of different YouTube videos, people talking about how they made money on WhatNot, how they made WhatNot work for them, right? What their process was. And it was actually kind of annoying because when I went and watched these videos of people talking about WhatNot, I felt like they took forever to get to the point. I just wanted the information, right? I didn't want to hear about their lives or, anything else. I just really wanted the WhatNot information, which kind of sounds mean, but I was just really anxious to get started, and I didn't want to spend several hours of watching YouTube videos and trying to learn how to do WhatNot, but also, all that time spent just with the people's intros to their videos. And so that was kind of frustrating, but also to prepare for my first WhatNot show, I went onto WhatNot and I watched other sellers to see how they did it. I went onto mostly people who were selling women's clothes, and I went onto their lives and I watched how they did their shows because I was curious. And I actually bought something from someone and just, saw how the process was for higher creators, people that had a lot of followers and had a lot of success, and then from people that also had success but had fewer buyers and stuff. So I watched a bunch of different WhatNot lives and bought a few things, like I said. So for my first ever show, I scheduled it for 6:30 p.m. I can't remember what day of the week it was, but I preloaded 28 dresses onto that show. So what I did was I went into my inventory and I pulled 28 dresses to run in my first ever WhatNot show. Some of those dresses I got from the bins. Some of those dresses I'd had in my inventory forever, and I was probably going to lose money on running them in my WhatNot show, but I didn't care because I've had them forever. And then some of those dresses were newer pieces that I was just going to start a little higher. So what I did was I cross-listed those items from, I think, Poshmark into Vendoo, and then from using Vendoo, I cross-listed them, excuse me, into WhatNot. And I scheduled my first ever show. I titled it Dress Show, all different sizes. I can't remember exactly what I titled it as, but then I loaded into that show those 28 dress listings. And I wasn't expecting to make any money my first show. I wasn't expecting to make any sales. I started my show a little bit early at 6:24 p.m. and I ran through all of the dresses twice. And I actually did make a sale. I sold this maxi American Eagle black floral dress that I've had in my inventory forever. I picked it up at the bins, and so I paid $2 for it, and it sold for $10. And I was really excited about that because I wasn't expecting to make any money. Well, I didn't make any more sales from that first live. And then later in the day, when I was just sitting on the couch after the show, I got a cancellation request. And I was just so sad because it was my first ever sale. But I did deny that cancellation request because the person didn't automatically cancel their request, which means they had thought about it for a while and were like, you know what, I don't want to buy this anymore. Which just isn't okay with me because that's not how buying works on WhatNot and Poshmark and places like that. And also because it was just such a low dollar amount, I'm like, I'm not going to accept this return request. It's a small amount of money, right? And it's my first ever sale. I don't want to refund the buyer and cancel the sale. So I did end up shipping that dress out a few days later, and that was that. I'll put up a picture of what that dress looks like. I've had it in my inventory forever. Got it from the bins, thought it would sell on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, or Depop, and it didn't. So glad that it sold on WhatNot. I had another show. My next show, I was like, I'm going to start a few things at $1 because for my first show, I either ran my dresses at $10 or $15. I would run them at $15 if they were newer pieces or I paid more for them, and then $10 if they were bins pickups and they were older pieces in my inventory. So for this show, I had a bunch of stuff that I think I had tried to take to consignment, and so they were already like pulled out from my bins, and so I ran a few things for $1. I ended up selling a pair of Victoria's Secret leggings for $1, an LL Bean shirt for $1. I also sold this Apartment 9 dress for $5. I sold the North Face green jacket for $5, and both of those two things I did start at $5 because I did pay more for them and I just didn't want to sell them for $1. But I was okay selling the LL Bean shirt and the Victoria's Secret leggings, for $1. And then I sold one more thing. I can't remember how much I paid for it or how much it sold for, but then the last thing that I sold was this woman's Patagonia dress that I'd gotten from Uptown Cheapskate in my big haul. And I ran that for $15 and it did sell, which is kind of exciting. So it turns out that the 6 things that sold between 2 buyers. So those 2 buyers bought 3 things each. And what I did for that second WhatNot show compared to my first WhatNot show was, in my first WhatNot show, I had pre-loaded items into my show. I had cross-listed listings into WhatNot, and then I'd chosen those listings to run in my WhatNot show. Well, for this second WhatNot show, I wanted to do the numbers method, which essentially is assigning a number to something that sells. So say you run an item and it doesn't sell. So you run another item and it doesn't sell. And then you run another item and it sells. You don't automatically have it preloaded in your WhatNot listings for that show. But what you do have is random pulls. So you can, when you're wanting to click a listing to run in your WhatNot show, you can go add inventory and then you can click, I think it's a plus button, and you can either click create quality listing or create temporary listing. And what I did was I clicked create temporary listing and then I did random pull. And then you can click how many listings are there of this, and you can, select 1 to 100 to 1,000. And then you swipe the little lever thing that changes it to list these items individually. And so that's what I did. I think I created 100 list items individually. So when an item sold and it was random pull number 1, I would assign a number 1. So I would grab that item that had just sold, lay that clothing down, and then I had a piece of paper with a 1 on it and put it on top. And I did that same thing with item 2, item 3, item 4. I would put the number on top of it. So when I went to package up my sales, I could see that so-and-so bought 1, 2, and 3, and the title of the listing that had sold just said random pull, but I knew what the clothing item was that sold because I'd assigned a number to it, if that makes sense. So the one person bought 1, 2, and 3, so I knew what 1, 2, 3 was, so I packaged that up for them and put the label on, and then the other person bought 3, 4, and 5, and I packaged that up, put the label on for them, and that was that. It gave me an unrealistic expectation for WhatNot would be like, because I thought I would keep growing on WhatNot, because my first show I made 1 sale, my second show I made 6 sales, and so I thought I would keep growing. Well, that was not the case. So my third and fourth shows, I was really wanting to get more followers because I saw that on WhatNot, the people that were successful had a lot of followers, which makes sense, right? Because if you have a lot of followers, people are going to get notifications that have their notifications on that you are going live. If there are a lot of followers, more people are going to join their live and they're going to make more sales and more money. And I had heard that a way to make followers on WhatNot is to run giveaways. So for my third WhatNot show, pretty soon in the beginning, I ran a $10 Starbucks gift card giveaway. And the caveat was that you had to be following me. So when you run a giveaway in WhatNot, you can either select run giveaway and the giveaway is for everyone, or run giveaway and the giveaway is only for followers, so people have to follow you to enter the giveaway. Or there's a third option for giveaway for anyone who buys something. So like it's a buyer's givey. They call them giveys in WhatNot, which I don't necessarily like. It's a niche thing to WhatNot, but I'm going to keep calling in giveaways. So 4 people entered that giveaway, got 4 new subscribers or 4 new followers on WhatNot. And I ended up not being able to find $10 Starbucks gift cards. So I shipped out a $10 Sonic gift card. And I made sure that the state that my gift card was being sent to had Sonic's, the Sonic restaurant at this certain state, because I looked it up and Sonic isn't in all 50 states. And then I just wrote a note saying, I'm so sorry I couldn't find a $10 Starbucks gift card. And I didn't want to send out like more than $10 in gift card money because I was trying to save as much money as possible. And that show where I ran the giveaway, I only ran it for 15 minutes because there was like no watchers. Compared to my first and second shows, I had like a couple watchers, and then my third show, I only had a few watchers when I was running my giveaway. And as soon as it was over, I had like zero watchers. So then I ran a 4th show, and in my 4th show, I did another giveaway, but I didn't want to do something I had to pay for. I just wanted to pay for shipping. So I ran a Vera Bradley purse wallet thing that I've had in my inventory forever that has had no interest. And I ran that, and I think I gained like 3 new followers from that, but that one sold. And then I ended up ending that video or that live pretty soon after because, again, there were no people on my live. And I'm just like, this is a waste of my time. Well, I kind of wasn't doing a WhatNot show for like a week. And then I saw on social media again, people talking about WhatNot and how it was successful for them. So I thought, I'm going to do this. I got to do this. I want to do this. I want to succeed at WhatNot. So what I did was I pulled all of my men's stuff from my inventory because I mostly sell women's clothes, but I do have around, I think like 100 men's items. There were a few men's clothing pieces that I missed, but I basically pulled all of my men's items. And I preloaded, actually no, I didn't preload them into that show, but I organized them all. And what I did for this one was I organized them by weight. So like I was talking about for my second WhatNot show, I did random pulls. But for this one, the men's show I was going to do, I did random pulls, but I assigned the random pulls by weight. So I would title my listings 4 to 7 ounce random pull, and then I would click make 50 separate listings. And so I would have 50 listings named 4 to 7 ounce random pull, 1 through 50. And then I did that the same for 8 to 11 ounces, 12 to 15, 1 pound, 1 to 2 pounds, and 2 to 3 pounds. And so when I had an item sell, I think I had 3 items sell in the 8 to 11 ounces category. And I just assigned them. I ended up buying these from Amazon. I just assigned them with 1, 2, and 3, stacking the clothing on top of each other and then having a number. And then I think I had 2 items sell in the 1 pound. And so I just made a separate pile doing 1 and 2. And then I think I had another item sell in a different weight category, and I just labeled that one with 1. What I didn't realize at the time in that men's show was that one person had bought 6 things from me. So all of the things that I separated out were bought from the same person, but say they hadn't been from the same person, I would have known when I went to ship the things that sold, okay, looks like I had 3 8 to 11 ounce pieces sell. So I'd go over to my 8 to 11 ounce pile and I would pull the number that the title said. So it would say 8 to 11 ounce random number 2. And then I could pull that clothing item that has the number 2 assigned to it. And how I could tell the difference was, when something weighs 1 pound. So even though I had multiple number 1s, I knew if it was number 1 assigned to the 1 pound item or the 8 to 11 ounce item, because you can obviously tell that a sweater is more heavy than just a shirt. So that's how I was able to separate it, but it didn't really matter in the end, like I said, because the same person bought all 6 items from me. And for that men's WhatNot show, I ran through all the pieces I had pulled from my inventory. I think 1.5 times. So I ran through all of it and then I ran through half of it. And that was that. I was feeling pretty happy because I think I sold a total of $50 worth in that men's show. Well, from there, it gets so much worse. Okay. I was kind of riding a high from that. I'm like, okay, I had 2 really sucky shows, but that's because they were short. I only ran them for like 15 minutes. And then I did this men's show and it was great. So then I ran a few other WhatNot shows. And for these shows, I did a few ones where I preloaded the items, a few items where I did the number system, and it was a complete failure. I got like no watchers at all. And it was just so discouraging because in my free time, I would go onto WhatNot and I would see other people's live streams that had like 50 viewers and the camera quality was terrible. The person doing the live wasn't engaging at all. And I was just so confused. And I would even go onto the person who was running the live who had like 50 people watching the live. And their follower count on WhatNot was so small. So it made no sense to me. So today, you guys, I had my last ever WhatNot show. Behind me, you can see the hangers are a disaster, but that's because I didn't have any skirt hangers, and so I just folded the skirts over the shirt hangers. But for this show, you guys, I pulled out all the skirts from my inventory. I preloaded them onto my show, and I scheduled the show for 2. I ended up moving it back to 3:30. But honestly, you guys, I don't think it matters necessarily if you have a scheduled show or if you do shows at random times. I've tried both. I've tried doing spontaneous shows and I've tried doing scheduled shows, and it hasn't made much of a difference for me. But like I've said, I've just failed at WhatNot. I ran through all of these, you guys, 1.5 times. My peak viewer count was like 3 watchers, which actually was only 2 because it counts you as one of the watchers. And so technically it was only 2 peak viewer count, 2 people. And then I would get like 1 viewer for like 5 minutes before they would switch off. Guys, I went for an hour. I was even going to go for an hour and a half because I was like, I heard that after an hour, you start getting watchers. You start getting more people watching your live. But I was just like, I've been at this for an hour and I've had no viewers and I could be doing so many other things during this time. And before this show that I just ran today, I had already been feeling really discouraged. I ran a few shows. They were fails. I felt like crying. I've talked to my husband about it, telling him I just want to give up, but I'm officially giving up, you guys. I've even pulled out different inventory for different shows because I also heard that like in order to make sales, you can do very like niche WhatNot shows. So for this one, I did all skirts and I was going to do an all plus size tops show. And then I was going to do an all sweater show and an all pants show. But after this specific niche show, and it didn't matter, I'm just like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore because it is affecting my sanity for real. One big insecurity of mine is being a failure, feeling like a failure. And I feel like a failure. I feel so downtrodden. And I wanted to tell you guys this real quick too, that I really wanted to gain a ton of followers. And I made a TikTok talking about how much of a failure I felt like. I made this like a week ago after I had a really bad WhatNot show with no watchers basically and no sales. And someone commented that a way to make or get a lot of followers on WhatNot is to just follow everyone within your specific niche. And so I just followed a ton of people that were selling women's clothes and men's clothes and baby clothes and accessories. And then I would also just go onto one person's account on WhatNot and I would go onto their following and I would just follow literally everyone in their following list. And at this point, I'm following 9,200 people and I have about 850-ish followers, which is a good amount, I feel like, for WhatNot if you're just starting out. But alas, it hasn't made a difference for my sales. I have almost 1,000 followers on WhatNot, and the method of following a bunch of people did work for getting followers, but evidently having a big follower account or even like a semi-decent follower account doesn't equate to making sales. So I'm done. I'm officially done with WhatNot. I still have actually a pile of all the men's clothes I ran in that men's WhatNot show, because I did run another men's WhatNot show after that men's WhatNot show I talked about to you guys. And I just haven't put it away yet because I was planning on maybe doing another WhatNot show. But after this fail of an experience, I'm done. I'm going to put away everything that I pulled out from my inventory, list the things that I never listed because I was planning on selling them in WhatNot. And I'm just going to focus on what I know works, which is listing on Poshmark, eBay, Mercari, and Depop, because I have been slacking with that to try to make WhatNot work. But I don't know what it is. I can't even continue. I can't even try to work or make, grow my following, become one of those people that has constant bidders and success on WhatNot, because it is so slow in the beginning. I honestly do not see it getting better. I just feel like crying, honestly. The tears are going to come if I make this video for too long, because I tried. I really did try to make WhatNot work. But I failed. I completely and utterly failed. And it's just so depressing, because I see other people succeed on WhatNot and doing WhatNot, and I just don't understand, because I was super bubbly and I've been losing my voice. I've been doing WhatNot shows every day, trying to do them at the same time. I've looked up so much advice. I've been on Reddit. I've been on Facebook groups, and yeah, I'm just done. So that's my little rant. In my opinion, WhatNot is not worth it. I think it's only for a select few. I think you have to get lucky. Maybe it's too late in the game. I know that people say all the time it's not too late in the game, but it really does feel too late in the game. So that's it for this video. Kind of little short video here, but I just had to make it because I've tried making this video, and in my past videos that I made for my YouTube, trying to make a video talking about WhatNot, they were still a little bit more positive. I was still thinking maybe I could do this, and I'm here to say no, I cannot do this. It's affecting my mental health. I feel like an absolute failure. It's affecting my main reseller duties, and I'm done. So with that, hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video.